We have a special guest with us, friend of the show. He's a socialist journalist and activist. He's been a contributor to the Black Agenda Report since 2013. It's also been a year since the release of his book that he co-authored titled American Exceptionalism and American Innocence, A People's History of Fake News from the Revolutionary War to the War on Terror. Please welcome back to the show. It's Danny Haiphong. Hey, Danny, how are you?
I'm doing all right, Jimmy. How are you?
Good. Now, did your book win any awards? Did it win any awards?
No awards.
Come
no,
on.
Jimmy. No. First-time author, socialist, anti-imperialist. It doesn't look good.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go. I'm glad you're here because I want to tell everybody that they did it. New York removed Bernie Sanders from the primary ballot. So let me just, I tweeted out when the people were threatening this, like, hey, this might happen. I was like, it would be hilarious if they did this because it would just reveal that the authoritarians and the fascists are the Democrats. And they went ahead and did it. They went ahead and did it. Here's a story real quick from the HuffPo. It says Sanders and his allies want to accumulate enough convention delegates to be able to influence the Democratic Party platform and rules. So he dropped out of the race. He's not campaigning, and he's putting his support behind Joe Biden, but he still wants people to go out and vote for him because of some schizophrenic. I don't know what part of a revolution involves endorsing the establishment and a warmonger. I don't know what part of a revolution involves that. And then but he still wants you to go out and vote for him so he can influence Joe Biden going forward. After you pledge your undying support to someone, you have lost any chance to influence them. That a second grader knows that. So all this stuff about Bernie staying in the race to get on the influence, I think is ridiculous because the party platform means less than nothing. Less than nothing, the party platform. So this idea that he's saying, and they did it last time too, we're going to party platform it. No one gives a shit. He's already endorsed the person. He's already had a secret deal with Hillary Clinton before the convention. He already had a secret to support that. They're not getting anything. So this whole idea of him staying in anyway is ridiculous. But I'm glad that he did stay in just so the Democratic Party could pee in his face one more time. Because that's what this is. Okay, just let me finish this and then we'll get to our guest. A provision, what happened was there's a provision in New York's budget that empowered the state's Board of Elections to remove presidential candidates who have suspended their campaigns. So there's some rule, I guess, that has to do with New York's budget that said that if a candidate suspends his campaign, you can kick him off your primary ballot. The Sanders campaign complained. They did not end up prevailing on the board's two Democrats, co-chair Douglas Kellner and Commissioner Andrew Spano, who voted unanimously to remove Sanders. The state's June 23rd presidential primary is now canceled. Their decision is bad. It's bad for the Democratic Party. It's bad for democracy, said Nina Turner, a co-chair of Sanders' 2020 bid. It has a chilling effect on democracy as we know it because the ability of the people to weigh in was stripped from them before they had an opportunity to cast a ballot. Sanders' allies have also warned that preventing him from accumulating delegates could hinder efforts to unify the party behind Biden, who is the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee. Today's decision by the State of New York Board of Elections is an outrage, a blow to American democracy, and must be overturned by the DNC, Sanders' senior advisor Jeff Weaver said in a statement on Monday afternoon. And the part they leave off is that he said that with absolutely no leverage to get this done and without a history of Bernie ever using his leverage to get anything done from the DNC. That's the part they're leaving out. And Bernie did release this, and I'll read it to you. It's just him complaining. It's just him flapping his gums. I'll read some of it to you. Today's decision by the State of New York elections is an outrage, a blow to American democracy that we are going to let happen. I'm not going to call out the Democratic Party for this whatsoever. I'm going to pledge my support to Joe Biden even harder after this. So it's just a bunch of stuff like that. While we understood that we did not have the votes to win the Democratic nomination, our campaign was suspended, not ended, because people in every state should have the right to to feel the grief of this campaign. I'll skip down. No one asked New York to cancel the election. The DNC didn't request it. The Biden campaign didn't request it. And our campaign communicated that we wanted to remain on the ballot. Given that the primary is months away, the proper response must be to make the election safe, such as going to all vote by mail, rather than eliminating people's right to vote completely. The last paragraph says, New York has clearly violated its approved delegate selection plan. If this is not remedied, New York should lose all its delegates to the 2020 Democratic National Convention, and there should be a broader review by the Democratic Party of New York's checkered pattern of voter disenfranchisement. No, the last time, I don't know if you remember, the last time, Danny, there was an election. The New York State Election Board legally kicked off 200,000 voters, and most of them in Brooklyn, who probably would have voted for Bernie Sanders. And then I don't know if you noticed, Eric Schneiderman, if you remember, Eric Schneiderman, who was the attorney general, was supposed to prosecute those people who illegally, they admitted they illegally did that. He didn't prosecute any of them. Nothing happened. They got a promise not to do it again. And now here they are doing this. So let me throw it to you, Danny. What is your commentary on this?
I remember 2016 when that happened. I had many friends, many of whom were people of color, who were disenfranchised and unable to vote in Brooklyn, standing in line for hours because of what was done by the Board of Elections. And I would like to say, Nina Turner talks about how this is so bad for democracy. My answer to that is, what democracy? I think that right now we have just such a ridiculous media atmosphere where suspicion about where Kim Jong-un is, suspicion about China's cases with COVID-19, calling Nicolas Maduro a narco-terrorist, all of this paints the United States as some sort of superior democracy, when right here in the United States, what do we have? We have Bernie Sanders being taken off the primary ballot, and all we have is words from the so-called progressive leaders inside of the Democratic Party. And I wrote on Black Agenda Report last week that all of what the progressive leaders in the Democratic Party has done up until this point is give us words, and words are not the things that people fight for. People fight for things that improve their lives, that they really need, that the system of capitalism, racism, and imperialism prevents them from having. Revolutionary Amilcar Cabral in Guinea-Bissau, when he was waging a liberation struggle against the Portuguese, said that people don't fight for ideas. They fight for the material things that will improve the lives of themselves and their children. And that is exactly what Bernie Sanders and the progressive leaders in the party are just not willing to do. They're not willing to use their base and organize their base for that purpose.
So, do you agree with my assessment that, so earlier last week, maybe I got an email from the Democratic National, from the DNC, and it's a fundraising email, and it was written by Bernie Sanders. That, according to the email, it says, "Hi, this is Bernie. Please give some money to the Democrats for the Unity Fund." After they just, after they cheated him 4 years ago, and after what they just did to him this time. And someone said that this is the Democrats trying to humiliate Bernie by having him do that, like having him, you're going to have to go raise money for us now. And I don't know if that's the case. It couldn't be. It makes sense if that's what they're doing. What do you make of it? Is this just them trying to humiliate Bernie? Why would they want to do this?
Well, I think that there could be many reasons why they would want to do this. Obviously, the ruling class in the United States has no qualms about humiliating Bernie Sanders. They've done it in 2 elections in a row, and the media slander that he received, as well as the slander from his own political party that he is so loyal to, has continued over the course of the last 4+ years. So, of course, this could be a matter of humiliation. I think what it really is, though, is a consolidation. It's a consolidation of the corporate Democratic Party establishment in a period of crisis. I mean, right now you have over 20 million people becoming unemployed in about a month or so. You have in New York City alone a third of food banks closing. You have long lines of people waiting for food because they're hungry and they have no money to buy it on their own. They have no money for rent. This is a crisis that the Democratic Party has no answer for because they haven't had an answer to the needs of workers and poor people and oppressed people for over 40 years. And when they did have answers, it was only because the workers, Black Americans, forced them to have answers. Because if they didn't, there would be a social revolution in the United States. And that's something the Democratic Party is engineered and designed to stop.
So, okay. And so they're going to keep him off the ballot. Do you think this will have any effect on Bernie Sanders' enthusiastic support for warmongering, demented Joe Biden?
Absolutely not. He is going to continue to support Joe Biden because the Democratic Party says so. I mean, at the end of the day, Bernie Sanders obviously feels a complete and utter and dire loyalty to the Democratic Party establishment, that the Democratic Party establishment's hold on power is quite more important to him than the things that he claimed to be fighting for this whole time. He refuses even now to talk about a lot of the issues that the Democratic Party is just not addressing. I mean, we're going to talk about the stimulus bill later, but you have Nancy Pelosi eating in front of two refrigerators worth $24,000 and boatloads of ice cream, and not talking about one thing that working people need right now in the United States. But no one has called her to account. And Bernie Sanders, I don't even know if he's really mentioned her name in the last few weeks to a month. I don't think so.
No, he hasn't. Hey, this is the part where I tell you where our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then I would tell you to go join our premium, but nobody has a fucking job. So why don't you just enjoy the video?